Hi, Nicole. I knew you'd be here. No, let me just apologize to Nicole and everybody else. I'm sure I was boring as hell yesterday. And when you guys heard that the locker room was open, I don't blame you for wanting to take off. And I know you guys got a tough job to do, and it's hard to get those guys. So I apologize but I knew you'd be here today. So go ahead, Karen.
Mike, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? Thank you for asking.
I'm good. The defense allowed touchdowns on 5 straight possessions.
Yep.
What do you have to do to get that unit back on track?
Well, it's not just that unit. I think the one thing that we've done in victory has been to play very complementary. And I would say that to give the third-ranked offense the field position that they did is tough. It is tough. And again, we have to play better defensively. We have to play much better. We have to play much better in all 3 phases to beat good football teams or beat anybody. So again, we talked about getting the drive stopped. We talked about finding ways to create some turnovers and continue to hunt for turnovers and hammer and tip and try to have to knock it away from somebody and and then just figure out what we can do when they get down there to get the drive stopped with too many touchdowns on third down, where we had some positive plays and had everybody in tune and playing well and getting a stop and then giving up a touchdown on third down. So that's a long answer to say that I said we were disappointed but not discouraged, and there's a lot of good snaps of defense, but not enough, and good snaps of offense and not enough, and some good snaps of special teams but not enough, and give them a lot of credit. We knew that they weren't going to go away, and we weren't able to ultimately do enough there at the end of the game.
They had a big advantage in terms of time of possession.
Sure.
Did you feel like the defense was fatigued at all?
Again, you just don't want to be out there that long against them and against a big offensive line, and that can kind of lean on you and wear on you. And, so again, that's the complementary phase that we talked about. That's the best defense against a good offense, is being able to possess the football. And, we didn't do that. We didn't do that in the second half. We didn't put drives together. We didn't convert when we needed to.
Mike, we really don't bring up special teams unless it's really good or probably really bad. The returns, even when you were doing well, the returns were there for Buffalo. Was it a structural, in looking at the plays, did Buffalo do something?
Oh, well, there was a new scheme then on the first one. And then after that, I thought we did a nice job against the double team over there on the sideline. After the first one, I thought Anthony adjusted really well to that and made it cut back, and we tackled it. And then then there's like a fit here and a fit there. And if they, this is not an indictment on the officiating. I know what this is. And if they're going to grab you and they grab you like this and we stand there head to head and nose to nose with them, that's not holding. It's not holding in this league, and I don't want it to be. And so you have to do enough to cause restriction at the point of attack so that they see that, and it gives them a reason to consider throwing a flag. So we have to understand that, and we have to be able to shed, and we have to be able to, create restriction at the point of attack. And we didn't do that. And so that they blocked us, and we were content with that too many times.
It was pretty simple, but Ramondre had the penalty after the play.
That's a bad decision.
What's the messaging to the team when things hit chippy like that?
That's bad decision. It's what I told him in the moment. That's what I'll tell him again at 12:30. There's nothing else. It's what it is. He made a good play, good positive play. I don't think they did anything wrong. Hit him at the sideline and stood there, and we made a bad decision.
Looked like there was a wrinkle where they had an offensive lineman lead blocking on one of the kick returns. Was that a wrinkle you were expecting? And does that change your approach at all when you have a big man in the game like that?
Well, that's, a copycat from earlier in the season. They hadn't shown that, but we have to be prepared for things that show up on tape, and being able to adjust and again, that's been a strength of ours on the kickoff coverage. I mean, that was a strength of theirs coming in. We knew that was going to be a challenge. At 98-yard touchdown against the Texans a few weeks ago, and we weren't good enough, and again in that matchup.
Unexpected was what happened with Robert in the pregame warm-up, Spillane. Or was that sort of part of the plan, just knowing what he
Well, I mean, I just think it was just to see what we can get and see, whether he was going to be able to do it or it was going to be in an emergency role. And there's not a lot of depth there outside of him, and could have had a few guys up, but didn't think that was really going to make an impact on the game day roster. If it felt like, whether it's the sixth outside linebacker or the sixth receiver or the fourth tight end or whatever it may have been, I just didn't feel like that was going to make that much of a difference or a difference at all.
Note that obviously you guys have nice rotation of players that have done a good job. You've mentioned Corey repeatedly. But does more of a burden fall, or do you expect more from Christian Barmore in terms of his playing ability?
Yeah, I mean, we expect that in this league, we've said this, that your best players have to play good for you to win. And we consider him one of our better players. And just like other quarterback, we expect, quarterback's going to have to play good for us to win. Whoever we consider to be our best players, they have to play good in this league. That's what this thing comes down to. So we'll continue to find ways to make production and get stops and show everybody the good ones and the things that we need to improve on.
Mike, I was just curious, with the penalties you spoke
You guys got
of.
the same hat on, so.
I know. We planned it actually.
Good.
Thought we'd switch it
Sorry,
up on mine.
I hate to. I just was like, those are the same hats.
With you spoke about the penalties this morning on the radio. I'm just curious. It did seem like some of the players also didn't agree with some of the calls. Or what's kind of your message to them to keep their head in the game? In that
Yeah, there's nothing that we can do. They see what they see. They call it the best that they can. I'm confident in that. We have to know what it is that they're looking for to call penalties. I think they have mechanics that they're looking for, and we have to understand that, and we have to play to that. That no more, no less, and the officiating or the penalties weren't the reason that we lost.
Okay, Nick, you guys talked about having a coordinated rush.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us any insight as to what happened with the rush on the touchdown pass to Knox?
Yeah, it wasn't coordinated. It wasn't coordinated, and it was not executed properly. Coverage wasn't executed properly, and unfortunately, when you do that against a good player, they make you pay. Any mistakes that you make get magnified against an excellent quarterback.
2-minute drive at the end of the first half. Any thought to being more aggressive there, or was how much did just eating up the clock play into your decision?
Well, I mean, we were trying to be aggressive. We were trying, and I don't think that we wanted to get going there and make sure that you get the first down, and then you kind of get rolling. And then the decision, we had 23 seconds. I figured they were going to reverse that. Wanted to keep the timeout in case of an emergency. We were already in field goal range. I figured that we could use the timeout in case something happens. You get a 10-second runoff, all those things. I think it's important that you keep that timeout when you can. Went with that decision. I thought, with 6 seconds and one timeout, I thought that was very well executed for Ramondre to break free there. I thought about taking a shot, and again, is it 6.1 on the clock or is it 6.9? I would hate to look up there and have a go ball from the 30-yard line and look up and have it be 0 and not 1 and then look like an idiot. So if it was 6.9, I would have taken a shot. If it was 6.1, I probably would have done what we did, if that makes any sense. And for any of you that are interested in the technology of football, they have considered that. It came up a few years ago that I heard about having the NBA clock, and this is where I think our fans would like it. I think the coaches would like it? Is there 11.9 and you don't have any timeouts, or is it 11.1? Can you get it clocked? So that was the conversation that we had, if that's what you're referencing. But other than that, I felt like we did a good job trying to get down there. Drake scrambled and, got us 10 extra yards and ate up some time, but not a ton.
Mike, on Trayvion's second touchdown run, we see Drake sprinting down the field and throwing a block. I just want to know your reaction to your quarterback getting down there.
Well, I mean, I think it's great. I think it's great that he can run once, first off, and Drake wants to do anything that he can to help this football team. And high screen a guy, and I don't think you need to trip and fall. I don't think that was necessary, but I think he wants to do anything that he can do to help us win, and that was good to see.
On the final fourth down snap, is that a situation where you tip your cap because of the adjustment that Buffalo made, or was there something that could have been done better from an execution standpoint?
Well, I mean, we didn't get off the release very good, and we weren't able to throw the ball around, a guy that was off spying, and that triggered. But we just didn't execute. But yeah, I mean, somebody executed and somebody didn't, and I thought we would take the ball and go down and score. I was confident in that. Wanted to be aggressive, didn't want to give them the ball back, and then figured, if we could make them kick a field goal, if we didn't get it, we had all 3 timeouts, then we would need a miracle to go down there and get a touch. Not a miracle, but we would have needed to be really, really good to go down and get a touchdown to tie it up. And they got the first down.
I'm just curious, Drake's been so accurate this year, Mike. Did you feel like the weather played into any inaccurate moments you may have had this year?
No, I mean, I just think that these are decisions, and you have to understand that there's going to be disguise, and it's going to look differently probably, post snap, and being able to come off things and progress. And he'll, I'm sure, tell you all those things. And, we'll be back. We'll coach it up, and we'll get back to work.
I was going to say, along those lines, just what did you see of the pass catchers and their ability to uncover? How much of that was disguise and the Bills doing a good job?
We have to, continue to run routes. Receivers got a very unique job. We need them in the run game. You have to have them in the run game at some capacity when we run it. And then when we throw it, they have to be able to recognize man or zone quickly. Talk about expecting man and reacting to zone. And some of those routes change based on man or zone. But their job's to get open and create separation or have great spacing. And their job isn't to decide if they get the ball thrown to them or not. And I know that that's difficult. But for every time that somebody's open, there's usually a time where somebody's not later on in the game. So there's a balance that you wage. And we're going to keep, using everybody. We're going to keep trying to highlight their strengths and things that they do well, and give the quarterback time to find those guys. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. See you Wednesday, Nicole.